Hello everyone, this is Anuj from Gadget Cake. Asus has just launched the two new phones in the budget segment, and it's the Zenfone Max M1 and the Zenfone Lite L1. And in this video, we will do the unboxing and show you our first impression of both these phones. So let's start. Asus Zenfone Max M1 and the Zenfone Lite L1 are the company's new budget phone which will directly compete with the Redmi 6 and 6A. At the time of making this video, I'm not sure about the pricing, but I think the price of both these phones will be under Rs 10,000 and will be available on flipkart.com. I will leave the pricing info in the description below. So here are the boxes of both the phones. First, let's see the box of the Zenfone Lite L1. In the front we have this cool looking texture with the Zenfone Lite L1 branding. And here we can see that it supports voice over LTE. On the sides of the box we have this "We Love Photo" tagline, and at the back we have the specification of this phone. It has 5.5-inch HD+ full view screen, 3000 mAh battery, 5-megapixel front camera and a 13-megapixel rear camera, and a triple SIM tray. This variant comes with a 2GB RAM and 16GB storage, and we get the Snapdragon 430, which is an octa-core processor. So let's open the box and see the content now. So first we get the user guide and some warranty information. And here is a SIM ejection pin. Below it, we have the phone itself. We will look at the phone in a moment. Let's see what else we have here. So we get the power adapter, which has the power output of 5V 1A. And here is the micro USB charging cable. So that's all we get in the box. Now before we look at this phone, let's quickly unbox the Zenfone Max M1. The box of this phone looks pretty similar to the Zenfone Max Pro M1 and has the same colors and design. At the back we have the specifications. This phone also comes with a Snapdragon 430 processor, but it comes with 3GB RAM and 32GB storage. The display is also the same size, which is 5.5-inch HD+. The battery however in this phone is 4000 mAh. We get the same things in the box, but here the power adapter is 5V 2A, which is good as the size of the battery is larger than the Zenfone Lite L1. Now let's look at both the phones closely. We have the Zenfone Lite in the black color and the Zenfone Max M1 in the gold color, which sort of give you a silver or the rose gold look from certain angle. In terms of build quality, both the phone feels pretty good, but surprisingly both the phone feels lightweight, even though you have the 4000 mAh battery in the Zenfone Max M1. The weight of the Zenfone Lite is 140 grams and the weight of this one is slightly more, which is 150 grams. The back of both the phone is made up of polycarbonate material, and you get this metallic back finish in both the phones. You also get the fingerprint sensor in the Zenfone Max M1, which is not present in the Zenfone Lite. In terms of screen, in the front we get the 5.5-inch HD+ screen in both the phones. But if you look closely, you have the 2.5D curved glass in the Zenfone Max M1. Talking about the front camera, in the Zenfone Lite we have the 5-megapixel front shooter with an aperture of f2.4, and then there's an LED light for notification next to it. There is also a front flash which will come handy in low light selfies. On the right side of this phone we get the power button along with the volume rocker, and on the left side you get a SIM tray. The SIM tray in both the phones is triple slot with a dedicated slot for micro SD card, which it supports up to 256GB. On the top we can see the headphone jack, and at the bottom we have the mic, charging port and the speaker grill. At the back you have the single rear camera which is 13 megapixel and it has an aperture of f2.0, and below it we have the LED flashlight. The back design of this phone is simple with this metallic finish, nonetheless it looks good, and with the curved edges you get a nice grip on this phone. Now let's look at the other phone, Zenfone Max M1. As mentioned earlier, the screen is same, which is the 5.5-inch HD+, and has the aspect ratio of 18:9, and this phone also has a 2.5D curved glass. The front camera on this phone is an 8-megapixel with an aperture of f2.0, and like its sibling Zenfone Lite, you get the front flash along with the LED status light. In this phone we have the similar position for the buttons, and on the right side you have the power and the volume rocker, and on the left side you have the SIM tray, but in the Zenfone Max M1 you have a secondary mic for noise cancellation next to the SIM tray. On the top you have the headphone jack, and at the bottom you have the mic, charging port and the speaker. Rear camera on this phone is 13 megapixel with an aperture of f2.0, and below it we have the LED flashlight. There is also a fingerprint sensor here above the Asus logo. Now let's turn on both the phones for the first time. Meanwhile I'm setting this up, let me tell you what is the main difference between both the phones. So first thing is the memory and storage. In the Zenfone Lite L1 you get 2GB RAM and 16GB storage, where in the Zenfone Max M1 you get 3GB RAM and 32GB storage. The front camera is also different, and it's the 5-megapixel in Zenfone Lite L1 as compared to the 8-megapixel of Zenfone Max M1. The Zenfone Max M1 has pretty much all the sensors including the gyro sensor, which is missing in the Zenfone Lite L1. Then there are few additions such as bigger battery in the Zenfone Max M1, and as compared to the 3000 mAh battery of the Zenfone Lite, you get 4000 mAh battery in this. And there is also a fingerprint sensor at the back. Both the phones support face unlock, which I will show you in a moment. So here we are on the home screen. You get the Zen UI in both the phones, which by the way feature rich, and UI is better than what you get in the other phones in this price range. Both the phones are on the Android Oreo 8.0 out of the box, and you get the August security patch in the Zenfone Max M1 and the latest September security patch in the Zenfone Lite L1. And after the first boot, we had approximately 23.4 GB available out of 32 GB in the Zenfone Max M1 and approximately 8.5 GB available out of 16 GB in the Zenfone Lite. There are no bloatwares in the Zenfone Max M1 apart from the Facebook and Instagram app. But for some reason, there are some pre-installed apps which I have never heard of is in the Zenfone Lite. And guys, as it's a review unit, so these apps I hope will not come pre-installed in the final production units. Before we look at the camera, let's check how is the fingerprint sensor and the face unlock performs. Face unlock works in both the phones pretty good. It's not as fast as some other phones, but it does the job. The fingerprint sensor on the Zenfone Max M1 is also fast, but then there is a software lag which takes some time to unlock the phone. Now let me show you the camera performance. Camera UI is same in both the phones, which we have also seen in the Zenfone Max Pro M1. Here are some pictures taken from the Zenfone Lite, and this phone also has a portrait mode in both front and rear camera. And here are few sample portrait photos. And then here are some low light photos. Photos came out pretty good when there is enough light, but guys, this is just the overview of this phone. We will talk about more on the camera in a review of these phones, so stay tuned for that. Now let me show you the sample photos from the Zenfone Max M1. And like the Zenfone Lite, this phone can also shoot portrait photos from both front and rear camera. One thing I noticed that the front camera quality is slightly better than the Zenfone Lite, as it has the 8 megapixel camera in the front as compared to the 5 megapixel of the Zenfone Lite. Now before we wrap it up, let's talk about the performance of this phone. In the Antutu benchmark, we got the score of 56,000 for the Zenfone Lite and around 57,000 for the Zenfone Max M1, which is decent enough and expected from this hardware. And we got the similar results with the Geekbench 4. We also played PUBG on both the phones. It was playable but in low settings. The gaming performance is slightly better in the Zenfone Max M1 due to more memory. So PUBG is definitely playable but at lowest settings in both the phones with minor lags here and there. The sound output is also good from the bottom firing mono speaker, and with the Audio Wizard app, you can tune the output according to your choice. And lastly, let's talk about the battery on both the phones. As Asus claims that both the phone can give you 2 days of battery backup, and I somehow agree with it, as I had these phones with me for almost 2 days, and even with the heavy usage, they lasted pretty much the same time. And that is mainly due to the Asus own battery management app PowerMaster. But again, I'll have to test it a bit more to let you know about the charging time and the battery performance later in our review, so definitely stay tuned for that. So overall I find both these budget phones pretty good. The build quality is nice and both the phone comes with a decent hardware. Now it all depends upon the pricing. If Asus price them right, these phones can easily compete and dethrone Xiaomi's budget phone series Redmi 6 and 6A, which is powered by MediaTek processors. So that's it guys, this was the unboxing and overview of the Zenfone Max M1 and the Zenfone Lite L1. Let us know what do you think about these phones, and also tell us if you would buy these phones instead of the Redmi 6 and 6A in the comment section below. And if you like this video, then please press the like button and subscribe to our channel Gadget Geek for more videos like this. Once again, this is Anuj signing off, and I'll see you in the next one.